Fact TV is here to help you be part of the community. Your participation is what makes us what we are. Sign up for a producer's workshop and come attend one of our media mixers where you can rub elbows with other local media makers. Synergy in action. Please share this and help get the word out. Did you know Fact TV shares community announcements? Having a garage sale? A performance? Maybe a block party? Why not get the word out on Fact TV? Simply log into fact8.com and find the Get Involved tab. Here you'll find forms to submit your videos and PSAs. Your announcement will then be broadcast, put on our website news tab, and will be posted on our social media. Let us help make your event a success. And let's go make stuff. Did you know? At Fact TV, we're excited to offer free video coverage for eligible events in the towns and cities we serve. On our website, under the Work With Us tab, you'll find an application form. This will start the process of getting an event covered and getting a video made. If your event is approved, as a sponsoring organization, you will be expected to 1. Accept full responsibility for the content of the program, talent, and necessary releases. 2. Provide Fact TV with relevant details about the event, such as time, date, location, and any descriptions.
Press.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. If I can have your attention. I'd like to call the meeting to order for Monday, March 23rd, 2026 at 5:30. This is a special meeting with the select board. I need a motion to adopt the agenda. Don't have a second on the agenda. Any discussion on the agenda? The agenda is approved. So this special meeting today is to address the short-term ordinance warning and posting that was not done correctly. It was called to my attention by Bill Kearns, our administrator officer. The select board has handouts that which was given to me by Bill. So the board has them and they've looked them over. It's basically the VLCT Select Board Handbook, 79 April 2006, Chapter 9 of the ordinances and the regulations, and the authority and the purpose. So briefly, we've drafted an STR. It's been reviewed several times by our select board and with the public. The select board, along with Morgan Wilbur, our town administrator, gathered lots of information in drafting the STR. Several meetings took place, along with the training workshop that Anna attended in December 25, because at that time, a lot of statutes were getting changed and revised, and so we wanted to be up to date. We presented it in January and in February by the select board, again with input from the community. And all of what I'm saying was all recorded in our minutes. On February 17th, the select board made a motion to accept the review for the town's attorney, Stephen Pudo, who reviewed it, and it passed 4-1. Again, all this was recorded in our minutes. On March 13th, Bill contacted me that the ordinance was not properly adopted by our board. I met with him on the 14th, and we discussed what was done. That's why I read off the handouts that he had given me. So today, we want to discuss some of the steps that we have to take in order for it to be warned properly. One of the things we warned it in 4 places. We need 5 places. And we also, with each warning and posting, we need to do a summary of the STR. And if you had seen our STR right here, it has all different points of what we have to discuss. And in that summary, that would be put there. And along with the summary, we have to put down, not just all the points, but where it's located, who to call, addresses, phone numbers, etc. And citizens do have a right to, petition it under 24 VSA, 1972. So that's where we're at right now. And we will be, having a meeting coming up, a select board meeting, to revote, and that's April 20th. But Anna's gonna talk about, some of the phone calls that she's made, okay?
So, just to be clear, so what to do when the issue, just to be, was that in the Grafton News, the warning was not complete. Okay, the other locations, it's posted in website, out on the board, down at the library, out on the board at the post office. But the summary in the Grafton News wasn't complete. What do? We have to, I will explain. We are announcing our intention to re-vote on the ordinance. I have to discuss this with our attorney as well as the Vermont League of Cities and Towns attorneys who are not officially our attorneys, but give advice to towns in this situation. There will be time for public comment prior to the vote. Should the ordinance be approved, we will then publish it in the Grafton News on the 5/1 issue. Because of the 14-day rule from approval, or if it's not approved, this becomes moot, but if it is approved, because of the 14-day rule, we cannot do it at our next select board meeting, April 6th, because our publication comes out more than 14 days after that date. So we have to be aware of that. So the date has been pushed from the April 6th meeting to comply with the 14-day after the vote rule, and our wish to publish it locally instead of in the Vermont Journal. Of course, we could post in the Vermont Journal. It was our sense that our townspeople don't necessarily read the Vermont Journal, but have better access to the Grafton News. So then we will also post it on 4 other sites in town: the website, the library, town office, post office, or the Grafton Village Garage or the Grafton Inn. Both have bulletin boards. While they are not public entities, that has been acceptable in the past. I believe that is all I have to say. I just want to think it through 1 second. Oh, and then the timeline begins after the April 17th vote. The standard timeline for adopting ordinance will begin anew with the 60 days before it can be considered an ordinance, with 44 days. The first 44 days, anyone in the town can petition it. All of those directions will be in the Grafton News and wherever it is posted, the specifications. So that's where we are on that.
Thanks.
It's clear.
Any other board members have a question? Questions from the audience? Okay. So that's what we have on the ordinance. Sorry. Yes.
I had a question in wording of the application for the
Registration.
registration, yeah. So if hypothetically you were to reach your 47 cap in a year, and all those people have to reapply the following year, and let's say you're slightly over, how is it chosen who gets to short-term rent their place?
After the 47,
Let's say hypothetically, there ends up being 55 places that want to apply. Is it first come,
It
first
is first
served?
come,
Is it
first
lottery? Is it?
first come,
It's
first
first
served.
come, first served.
I don't anticipate we're gonna get, we only have, what, 20
Maybe 20 at this.
at this point?
One question, what action do you want the board to take on Anna's presentation?
There, we don't require an action right now. I'm pretty sure. Again, I've been on the phone all day about this. We will put it on the agenda for, the 17th, and that is simply our next step. It will be in the minutes from, actually, and also on the 6th, we will make an announcement at that board meeting that it will be on the 17th. So it's pretty clear and fair warning to rewarn the vote. There's nothing to do at this point because it's as if we're bringing it to a vote on the 17th of April, just like we did on, actually, 20th of April, sorry. Just like we did on the 17th of February. So it's sort of, I'm making this presentation and based on my findings.
She
Okay.
dialogued with Steve. She had a conversation with her attorney and VLCT. So we're just presenting the information to everybody tonight. That's the purpose of the special meeting. If there's no other further questions, the other point, agenda item is, duties and authorities of the planning commission in relationship to the select board. And Bill, I think these are some of the things that you wanted to put on the agenda. If you want to address that.
Yeah, I just want to. My whole reason for raising the issue of the non-conformance with 24 VSA 1972 to notice. And in handout number 2, as Anna has said, you just follow it line by line. It's
Right, we have that.
and so, and that's all you have. And I've been doing this, helping people with ordinances and writing ordinances and bylaws for 25 years since moving to. So I've been at this and what I wanted to say is I have seen this board with other board members in the past appoint people to study and make suggestions about ordinances or bylaws or other things. And they completely forget about the fact that they have a planning commission whose job it is to study anything has to do with land use. And some people said, well, this isn't land use. Well, if I rent a property instead of buying it, the rental is part of land use in this town. Short-term rental is still, it's part of land use, how land is used in our town. And so it should go before it doesn't need to go to the planning commission, but the planning commission has the authority and the duty to do all these things, but the state law allows them to opt out of it or just ignore it and not do it, not do that portion. But it's because at the very beginning of that section that they say that they may do all of the thing. But they have legally responsibility to do. For instance, part of the thing that they're allowed to do is make regulations that affect your use more distinctly, like other towns have. Zoning regulations that affect what you can do on your property, what zone it is in. And so, and then make the bylaws regarding that. A lot of people say we don't have zoning. We have zoning. We have 2 sets of zoning. And they're all under chapter 117 of Title 24, and they are the 2 sets of zoning we have are subdivision regulations and the flood regulation. Both of them are under that section. We don't have zoning regulations of the sense that Chester has zoning regulations, Greenfield has zoning regulations, but we have. It's just so that our as the use of property goes, for the most part, the town historically has decided that people, out of respect for one another, will do on their property what honors the rights of the neighbor as well as their own rights. And that has worked really well for Grafton. A lot of towns that I would go to when I was helping them write regulations for their town, they would say to me, we want the regulations Grafton in. It's a beautiful village. And I tell them a little bit differently than I just explained to you. I would say we only have one regulation and it's not written down. If you do something on your property we don't like, we won't talk to you again. But it's basically shunned. And but the more positive way to say that is we respect other people's property, so we won't do anything on our property that we wouldn't want the neighbor to do on theirs. And so, and it's worked out for over 100 years in town, so that's why.
Response.
So that's all I wanted to say. And I have made a lot of notes. If I can comment on the STR just briefly.
Can I respond to your initial comment about the planning commission and STRs? I've asked about that. Because a home is private property, it does not fall under land use in this sense. So STRs throughout the state have been in the purview of the select board. That's my response. Whether or not the genesis in those other communities came from someone on the planning commission, I don't know. But SCRs, the onus of, or the writing and adopting throughout the state has been a select board function. So I did ask about that because a home is a private entity and the person that may be staying in a room in a home or renting the home are not altering land use. They're not going to, I don't know, dig a moat or something. So that was the response to that. Thank you.
And my response to that is great. But I just wanted the select board and the planning commission to know that the planning commission has a lot of experience in doing this. And in the future, if you're going to do something like this, you might talk to them, give it over to them. That way you don't have to take your time in doing it. They're not limited to what they do. So, and they're a really good source because they have the expertise. Yeah, and may I make a comment on the STR? My only comment on the STR is it can be, that is, I had heard that part of the meeting was, the enforcement can possibly be done by the town administrator. The problem that I see, with this is that there are too many regulations there are very strong regulations that are very hard to enforce without a badge and blue lights. That it can be a little bit dangerous for somebody enforcing. When the state, it is state law, and all you have to do is call 911 for noise, for traffic, people parking in the middle of the road. You don't need to call the town to take care of that, and they'll take care of that. And for that reason, there's some portions that I think it would be my recommendation that under what you need to post on the bulletin board, well, for the people to see, is that there is a noise ordinance and what that really says. And things like that. And the other portion is you have several things that are violations of the occupant. Too many people there. And every one of them is in violation. So if you're going to enforce that, they'll be gone. But you could go and give them a ticket, all 9 of them in an 8-unit, or you could follow a complaint of a neighbor that there are too many people there, find out if that is the case, and give 9 tickets, or however you want to write this, to the owner, so that the owner will see that they don't do that anymore. It's the same with the noise ordinance. You want it to be a violation and have somebody give the ticket to the occupants, they'll be gone. They may or may not do it. Now, will that go against their license? Yeah, those who did it, or it'll go against them. The other thing about enforcement, though, if you can't collect, if to the extent that it's a violation by the owner, and they don't pay it, you simply put it on the taxes. You don't have to do anything after it, and so it's very, very easy to enforce. And there's one other very minor thing. If you're gonna post things on the bulletin, people use cell phones. The operator doesn't have any idea where you are. They unless they can trace it by the cell towers, and maybe they can't. But we only have one cell tower in town, so that I know. Put on there on that bulletin board, in everything this is the address. If you have to call 911, this is where they have to be like. Because there's been a lot of cases where people visiting here are staying at somebody's house, even a relative's house. They don't remember what the address is. They call on their cell phone and nobody knows what. So there's probably a couple of things that I'm missing, but that's what I would try to do. Make the violation be violations by the owner who can then enforce it themselves. But that's it.
Can I ask a question? What are we attempting to accomplish with these 2 items on the agenda? Introducing a discussion about that ordinance? Is it to try to gain some consensus on where the lines are drawn between the select board and the planning commission? Or is this just airing a little bit of that, and the board will pick that up and have some substance behind it, and maybe a target for consensus in the future?
I think what you said is probably a combination of both. Cause I was not aware that planning commission had something to do with our STR, as Bill was mentioning. And I had no idea about that. So Bill wanted to bring it up, and that's why he's here. So everybody knows.
But there is a point of discussion about whether or not a residential property is a land use,
Mhm.
or whether a rental residential property is a land use. So I just flagged that as an issue that's not necessarily coherent.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in a position where I'm on the planning commission and on the select group. I don't think this was brought to the planning commission to take action on, but we were aware of it. And actually discussed it, in at least one meeting, maybe 2.
Yeah, it was basically talking about the setback
Right, yeah, and aspects of it,
Yeah.
in the planning commission. And then, as noted, I think the planning commission for, regulations are around zoning, as you said, and land use primarily. And it sounds like, Andy, you did some research on that in the state of Vermont. You know, it has been designated as a select board because of private residential.
Right, it's not about land use, that was the.
So I'm not sure in this particular instance, there's a crossover. But I think it is good to understand that the planning commission is a resource for the town. To research and look at policies and plans, you know, make their own. Joe?
No, I also want to jump in. I think it's good to point out that we do have the onus is on the owner. And it's clear throughout the STR ordinance that renters are not calling, they are the responsibility of the owner. And that is covered in this and has been reviewed. Yes, I guess, yes. It's your meeting.
Yeah, go ahead.
You do say the occupant is in violation of regulation. You don't say that the owner is in violation by having too many occupants on it. That's all I'm saying. So if you know, if you want the court to enforce it, but the court not.
Yeah, not the occupant. Okay.
That's my. And then with regard to this discussion about the planning commission. Realize that's all true. But realize that. All infrastructure. Is part of the planning commission's job, all infrastructure. And to make recommendations on whether other infrastructure should be done.
Thanks for that clarification.
There's another.
Yes,
I just wanted to clear something up, or maybe I'm not seeing it. So assuming that the owner does everything to the book and buy the book. They're renting to people with 5-star reviews and everything. You can't control people's behavior. So if they, if say multiple people in a renting year violate one or more of these rules, is there strikes that are going to be built against the owner of the building? Or are the, you know, are the tickets, so to speak, going to the person renting the building from the owner?
That's where the tickets go. And the, hold on a second. I actually didn't anticipate a conversation about the contents of this, so but I'm happy to answer the question. In addition to, I direct you to
page 7.
section 9, E and F. And G. And which speaks to revoking licenses where the owner, the registration, and to the owner and reinstating the STR owner has committed any more than one violation, would lose their license and things like that. The escalation in terms of the fees would also come into play, hopefully. We do have an opportunity, and I think when we see how this vote goes and how it all falls out, there is a gentleman who will come to town and speak to enforcement. But this has been, again, vetted by our attorney, and the enforcement portion of it, just sort of proper procedures for enforcement. But by and large, this is considered enforceable, but it is the ultimate responsibility of the owner. If there is a complaint, the owner or caretaker is contacted. If by the occupant, by whoever could be. We have to keep in mind, we have not run into this very much. I think we're looking at worst case scenarios. There've been, as we noted, 3 concerns, 3 calls in the past,
2 years.
at least more than 2 years, several years.
Well,
But that doesn't mean, I mean, I appreciate your question, but it is responsibility of the owner, and any violations escalate against the owner.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to ask. I think I missed the first part of that, so. The tickets, so to speak, are going to the renter
No, the tickets are going to the owner.
for the renter's behavior.
Perhaps, yeah. Because the ticket is likely, I mean, they could be gone, as you say, that's the owner's problem. If so the ticket goes to the owner.
Okay, so with
It's not like we're
after
capturing.
hours noise,
Mm-hmm,
if the owner posts that there's an after hours noise
mm-hmm,
ordinance, the renter comes up to the
violates,
CA. They make noise after hours. There's a complaint, the ticket goes to the owner.
yeah, has to.
I don't think it has to, but that's just me.
Okay.
Can I just add something?
We don't know who the renters are. They are not part of the registration. The owner is taking the responsibility with the registration, so we wouldn't even know who they are.
As our second home, we used as an STR for about 4 years. And people would sign up through the, it was VROB, and it would say 2 people. Okay. My husband and I would go out after, usually it was a weekend thing, or maybe they stayed for a week. We'd go out to do the cleaning, and it wasn't 2 beds. We were doing 6 beds. So we knew it was more than 2 people. We never got to a point where there was more than 8 people in the house, but as an owner, we didn't know unless we went and visited. If there was a problem and we saw more people. But this is Weston now. They don't have any ordinances. So there's no enforcement. But the owner can be at risk if they have more people coming in, because they can bring other people in on weekends and have more than they're supposed to, but the owner would not know.
I understand the onus being on the owner to control the controllables. Lettering, so you could find the place of emergency,
Yeah.
exit, floor plan, fire extinguishers, everything up to code.
Yeah, we
I
have that.
understand all that, but when it gets into being responsible for others' behavior, if they're under the influence or doing whatever, if they decide to move their car from the designated parking spot to the place they're not supposed to be, that's where I'm kind of like, I don't. You know what I mean? That, to me, that becomes less of a, the owner's doing everything they can to try to comply with all the safety stuff, but. If the other person is the one engaging in the behavior. And the owner did everything that they could to provide a safe place and abide by the rules, and then still end up responsible and then paying fees and everything for somebody else's behavior. I don't think that that's right.
The only thing the owner can do is not have those people coming back.
I mean, they give the theory behind some of these rental companies like Airbnb is the owner evaluates the renter afterwards.
Very familiar with.
Right, so that's it. I mean, our hands are tied. That's,
I never want to be responsible for what I do.
I agree.
Responsible for somebody from New York
it's,
City.
I don't know that we're resolving.
Speeding for where they want to park their car, if I told them where to park, or if
Then-
they decide to be loud or whatever they want to do that.
Mhm.
I think if they are to break the rules, it should be on the person breaking the rule, not the place.
Well, maybe you're right, but again,
I hear.
If you rent an apartment from somebody. I understand that's longer term, but it's just a matter of extending that stay. Now, if there's a noise complaint, it's on you. If you go to a hotel room and you're having a party when you shouldn't be having a party in there, it's on you, it's not on the hotel. They're gonna have to deal with the complaints from other guests, but.
That's kind of true or not. The hotel also has a responsibility of providing, a quiet and, they promote what they're selling. So they do have a responsibility in case of noise.
I understand that.
But I've been in a hotel in that situation.
So have I.
I don't go to the room and say, hey, I want you to quiet down. I call the front desk and say, hey, take care of this problem.
But the people engaging the behavior are gonna be liable for their actions. It's one of the two.
Maybe, but I'm not going to engage them. The same as I went and tracked them down. We're gonna have to have the homeowner own the situation. They're making a decision that they're gonna have a rental property. They're gonna have some ownership of issues that may engender.
Amber,
So I think that falls back to the situation where instead of contacting the homeowner for the behavior of the occupant, it goes back to the calling 911 for any ordinance or illegal parking, because that's no matter what, if you want a house in town, if you have an ordinance happen in town, you call 911 and they come to enforce it with whoever's staying at that house, if it's yours, because your readings were loud, or if it's somebody else that you're having to stay there. I think at that point, but that situation and their behavior, that becomes a 911 situation with them not complying with just the general behavior of a person, not the homeowner.
But,
So,
and that's true. You're not gonna go engage, and I don't think as a town, we wanna engage
No,
with someone
you don't.
that's noisy or violent.
right,
So that's 911. But then there's the follow-up to the situation that would be the violation.
right, but if they're gone because the police showed up and gave them a ticket or did whatever they need to do to them, then I don't think the homeowner should be penalized again for what they've done. Because the homeowner's probably not gonna have them come back anyways because of it. So,
Well, in,
Maybe.
I hear you, please understand that certainly the first step. We're not looking to hand out tickets. The first step is the warning step. And yes, agreed, in adopting an ordinance, there would be that necessary first step by the administrator of the ordinance, to call that homeowner and say there was a situation and it's a warning. We're sort of, there are lots of arguments on both sides. I hear that, but you're right. Why should the homeowner, if there's, something that person's been hauled off to jail for? But at any rate, the purpose of one of the byproducts of this registration is that we could reach out to the homeowner, alert them, hopefully they find out about it or whatever, and give them a warning and see that it's addressed, or what best we can do.
Okay.
So that's what's behind this.
Bill,
And two minor points on that, not on that, but on the, one is. Having done the septic ordinance for a long time, it would be a lot easier if the renewal date for the STR was the same for everybody, like every year on January
I
1st.
think it is.
And the fee be paid. If today I'm paying you the fee, then you charge me 9 months. Or however you want, whatever you want to do with that, but. Have them pay the first year. For how many months are left in the year from when we're paying, then always on first. That way the administrator doesn't have to, we just send a letter or a notice to all of them. And they all pay by January 31st or something like that, but all.
We have addressed that. That's in there. I borrowed a copy. I can't see it online. We addressed that they would all be renewed on the same day.
It says annually on the day of date of renewal, unless on the date of it was given, so that's all.
Okay,
Okay.
point taken. I could spend time looking at it.
And the other thing is-
towards the end.
The other thing is very, very minor. It doesn't even cause you, I don't want you to change anything, because you hold the law as it is in in the criminal for making noise at night, you quote it perfectly. Law enforcement enforces 7 in the morning till 10 at night. If you don't enforce dawn to dusk. And you can double check that with a law enforcement officer or with DOE or whatever, but I was told very strongly by the sergeant who used to be here all the time, they don't enforce that, it's technical.
You looking for septic?
No, I'm not,
You haven't
I'm looking for
corrected me,
renewal.
but that's not what's gonna be enforced.
Thank you, Beth.
Oh, yes, here.
It's a simple question that's probably been covered before, but it seems like we're in the weeds a bit. How was the number 47 arrived at?
It was arrived based on the number of dwelling units in the town. And it was 10%. So there are 477 or something habitable spaces that could potentially people live in, or could be lived in. And that was how that was arrived at.
Anybody else?
Seem to have been.
Suzanne?
Subject part, I'd like to go back to the subject of the relationship between the planning commission and the select board. I think that's where we were.
I know, we seem to have gone
Yeah,
back.
we are, okay. I just want to, make the select board and the planning commission aware that the Wyndham Regional Commission has, as part of its responsibility, a training program for the relationship between the select board and the planning. And I spoke with Matt, and he is definitely willing to come to Grafton for a joint meeting of the select board and the planning commission to have this gathering of all of our, of those two public bodies and have them, and have all of us understand what the, relationship is.
Good idea.
Okay. Matt, do you have something to say? Did you have something to say? Well, thanks for that information, Suzanne.
Sure.
If no other comments, the next thing on the agenda is signs and state law. And Bill, I think you're gonna address that.
Now, I would just simply, this being a political season, we've all been to New Hampshire during political season, you can't see the trees from the suns. Vermont, and the reason I quoted so much of the Vermont law is the whole purpose of the Vermont law is to preserve the scenic beauty and to preserve it for the enjoyment of the residents and the all the tourists that we get, since we depend a lot on tourists to that. And so, but the sign ordinance is, though it's long and I had that, and I highlighted some of the things on it. Basically, it says, if you want to post a sign expressing your feelings, or you want to post a sign, well, it even goes into realtor sign. Put them on your property, not on your neighbor's property. Don't go ask your neighbor if you can put it on there. You can ask your neighbor if they want to post it and have them post it on their own property. But on their own property and out of the right of way. You'll also notice in there that I've never seen enforced anywhere. That it can only be up for 2 weeks. During political season, people leave the signs up better more than that. But the one thing that is enforced is the day after the election, it goes away if it's a political sign. If you are to comply with this with regard to other signs, it would be in the 2 weeks. But again, I have never seen it enforced. It just say, keep it on your property and keep it. And so, for instance, if you're on a road that has rock walls on both sides and they're within the 25 feet, put it on your side of the rock wall, not on the other side. The other thing I want to say is that doesn't happen very often, but when the fella had alpacas here, and then I understand that the cheese factory is doing the same thing. If he had his alpaca sign at the market, a business cannot have an off-premise sign. It has to be on their property. And so the cheese factory, I don't know what they're gonna do, how they feel about it, but they cannot put a sign on the corner here directing you to the cheese factory. Because that's enough in the sun, and that's covered in here. There's a lot more. If you go to that section, I skipped a lot of that. I just wanted to deal with this common problem in the sides. But, and just to show you what could have been done in past years during the political season, the highway department helped me enforce that sign, the sign ordinance, the sign regulation, I should say, state law. After I talked to the people and asked them if they would remove them, they would take the sign. And what I used to do in Springfield is gather all the signs that were illegal, take them back to the parties and say, these are yours, you can have them back, but don't put them where they're not, wrong. And then I've never had a problem. So I just don't want us to have a problem and then have to deal with it. The people should know. And I also don't want people to buy a bunch of signs that they can't use because they have way more than they need to put on them. If you go by here, just as a comment, you see Chris Wallace has signs up every once in a while. That's what you're looking at. It's back on the that's what you're looking at. Let's take it on.
Can I make one comment? Yeah. Actually, more concerning to me is the sign, for example, today, well, the first time I've seen it, right before Cambridgeport Road, right before the bridge, there's a sign where you can get a job at a moving company that's stuck in the ground across the street from the Parker's house, stuck in the ground saying you can get a job for $20,000 moving. That would appear to be in violation. Those are the types of signs you see in New Hampshire, right when you go over the bridge at 123. So whose responsibility is that to either remove that sign or how do we address that? It's the first I've seen that sign, and oddly enough, it was today.
Is it in the right of way?
Yeah, it's definitely right on the side of the road. It's on, I don't know, anyone else see it today? So I just don't know what's the procedure.
Right of way, the right of way isn't the highway takes it out, right?
So the highway department would take it out, well, we could just have. No, they'll be fine doing it. I just don't think any of us, I didn't know the procedure.
And I'm not telling people to take signs that are illegally in the right of way. There was an anti-Trump sign out here by Bill across the street from Bill Toomey's a couple of years ago, but there wasn't, I don't remember which candidate it was. And I just asked Flo to move it back out of the right,
Yeah.
and she did.
But I think that in this case, I don't know if it's not private property at all, where this one is.
Can I ask Bill, what about signs that are posted on telephone poles or trees?
Not on trees, not on telephone poles.
Lost the whole.
The telephone, it's really dangerous to put stuff on telephone poles. People can get hurt by the electricity that sometimes is there when you're dealing with nails and staples. It's very dangerous, but no, you can't put stuff on telephone. And I would think that the telephone company would have fun.
And what about,
Trees, not on trees, not on anything. And in the ordinance, if you read really carefully, it talks about putting it on a structure that's really strong. It's okay if it's a stake in the ground, like as long as it isn't, low way out off into the street.
There was a lost dog sign posted for some time, a year or so ago.
Right.
What happens when we lose our pets? I would like to think you could put your "I've lost my dog" sign up for a little while. I would love to think we had the humanity behind that, and that's,
Actually, if you go to the wrong time of year and they're mowing the right of way.
All right.
Okay,
anyway,
yeah,
that was just my point. I would like to think that we would
no one's. going-
somehow show compassion for the lost dog.
With the garage.
Right.
I think you do.
The grass.
I couldn't hear, are you saying that this is state law?
Yes.
Oh.
It's, I cited that, it's it can be a safe, it's act, can be a safe, 481 to 506.
Okay, is that 25 feet from the center line?
25 feet, it's, well, that's constantly a problem. In the state of Vermont, every road is presumed to be 50 feet. It's not quite 50 feet, but 50 feet in width. They measure it a lot, so it's not that 50 feet. Or it's a little bit more than 50 feet, I think, actually. And, we just presume that if you go back 25 feet from the center line, you're out of the right of way. And that's why I say, if you have a rock wall, that's probably the end of the right of way. Lead, even though it's presumed to be 50 feet, so just put it behind the guy.
What about flags on trees?
I mean,
Flags that are on trees?
flags on trees,
Is there a law there?
that's, I would. So, I
And on your own. this is-
don't know, but I would think that the flags on trees are like signs on trees, that you see.
We addressed that last year.
We did, because the flags were, the
Right
town
away.
trucks were, they're in the right of way and the town trucks are hitting them. And it was a distraction.
Flags in the right of way that can be hit by tall trucks should not have been.
Suzanne,
Madam Chair, I have a question, for Bill. It's okay if I. Bill, you have worn many, many hats for this town. When you enforce the sign, with the state police, did you have on your town administrator hat or your administrative officer hat?
I don't do it when I'm doing state law enforcement.
Yeah, when you were doing, I think you shared with us that there was a time after the
Yeah,
last
generally.
election that you, when if people did not comply with taking their signs down, you went along with
I
the
was-
state police or the sheriff, I can't remember what she said. Did you do that under the auspices of town
No, I never-
administrator?
I never-
of the-
No, I never talked to the state police or the local police. I enforced it as at the wish of the select board as the administrative officer.
Dan,
A number of years ago, I was involved in a wind fight, and it was my job. Technical job that measured the distance from the signs from the center of the road, so on and so forth. So I did that about 50 times. And I found the majority were on the cusp. Some were maybe not, but not more than a foot. So I called up the state and I got the ruling. I talked to the secretary of state and he said, it's not enforced. If it's not in the middle of the road and it's not profane, it's not gonna be enforced. The people who would enforce that will be your sheriff, not the state police. Nobody else is gonna come. And basically, forget about it. Okay, you have bigger fish to fry than the sign ordinance. He says it comes around every couple of years when there's something contentious. People call me up with 50 signs and they are. Unless that sign's in the middle of the road or on somebody else's property, there's not much you can do about it. There's what people.
thank you, Sam.
Can I ask you a question on that? What is the purpose of raising this issue on this agenda? Is it to tighten? Make sure that the definition of a sign that only has a 2-week life versus one that may have a longer life is adjudicated, discussed? Is there somebody, is that done by this board? Is it done by the planning commission? I mean, what do you do with that? here back in the day of the wind, but.
You run across people, well, a lot of us live on dirt roads, I don't, that does, how do you figure out where that hose comes from? Okay. If you live on a pavement, it eventually the vegetation approaches on it and the road gets a little narrower every time. And if you go by the yellow lines, which people paint the state paints, they're all over the place, as you can see, so it's difficult to do. Especially in Vermont, we have a lot of dirt roads, a lot of improved roads, you just don't know where to put the sign. Like, as long as you make a reasonable judgment, okay, it's not a problem.
Any other thoughts? If none, other business? Public comment? If none, our next meeting, regular meeting is Monday, April 6th, 2026 at 6 p.m. And I thank everybody for attending and I thank the board for taking time for a special meeting. Need a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Wait a second.
Yep.
Oh, thank you, John.
Thanks.
Aye.
Recording stopped.
I have no idea.